Following this week sessions, we are gonna go back on the LOFT function in Solidworks, and I'm gonna guide you through the exercise to actually build the banana using the LOFT function method steps. So let's start from reviewing what is the LOFT function. So I open a new part. For example, on the top plane, I'm gonna open a sketch. I'm gonna make a circle. And I want that these circles will connect with another shape somewhere above it to become a square. So first, in order to do that, I need to create a new plane where I need it to be and make a new sketch on that plane. So in order to achieve this, I go to top plane, features, I found geometry, new plane. The system understands that I want to create a new plane to sketch on it above the first one. I have other function here, but let's start with something simple. And I tell him 10 centimeters above the first one, I will have a new plane in space. Now I can use this plane to make a new sketch. Sketch. And I tell him that I want this to become, we said a square, let's make a square. Good. And actually I can keep adding shapes like that, making a third plane and asking him to make it become something else. Let's do it again just for practice. Top plane, we choose reference geometry, plane. He understands what I want to do, and I tell him yet again I want it to be above. Now I have a third plane I can sketch on. Sketch, and there I can put the final shape. For example, I'm gonna do a thinner rectangle. Now with the function LOFT, we choose LOFT. You can see that the icon of the LOFT is connecting different shapes together. I can tell him, please connect this. Okay, 1 second. Because one of the sketch was already selected, so be careful with that. Always start with no selection. You can do escape on the keyboard to be sure that nothing's connected. And then I go 1, 2, 3 in order of appearance. 1, 2, 3. Now you can see I have a shape. Agreed. And that's how we did this shape. So the LOFT function, the basic version of it, if you can slice your shape into planes and you know how it's gonna look on each plane, then you can sketch whatever you want. Because then if I continue with the fillet, you would soften the edges. That could be a funny shape for a button actually. Then I have like a base. If I want this to be hollow, I can use the shell function. I think we mentioned it before. I just need to let him know what is the thickness of my plastic. And I have an empty shape. That could become a bag. That could become an accessory. So you can see that within these 3 little functions, loft, fillet, and shell, I already created something interesting. Maybe it could be a box in which I can throw stuff when I stitch. So play with it. This is a simple way. 3 planes, even 2 planes, one sketch, connect it, play with it. That's the first version. We saw during a lesson that I can also tell him what happened on the sides. So it's important for us to review that before we continue with the banana exercise. So let me use our time machine here to go back in time before I did the soft. Now I go back to the beginning when we had only 2 planes. So here I'm gonna go back to an exercise that an example that will be closer to us. Like what happened if we want to make a dress or let's say the skirt. So on the first plane, I can first of all start on the top plane, new sketch, and on this bottom plane, the floor, I can tell him I want my skirt to be sharp, with sharp angles. And we already did this exercise during the course. I'm not going to add too much details. Just want to put the size. We're just going to make it proportional. Second plane, I want a new sketch, and I want this skirt to become a circle. Before, on the top plane, taking the shape of something similar to the hips, even if the hips is flat in the back, a bit rounder in the front. It's not a perfect ellipse, but that's for a fast concept, it will help us. So now that I have this, like we saw, I can connect them using LOFT. 1. If it happens to you, always do escape on the keyboard. 1, 2, and 3. If you approve, now you can see that it's already the base of something. But what if I want this to be a bit more bumpy here, to have like more like a curve, better, like more pronounced curve at the top. So I remove the first LOFT, delete, and I can sketch what's called guiding curves. Coming from the side, on the front plane, for example, you can see that the front plane is cutting through my shapes. On this plane, I can tell him how I want my design to behave from the front point of view. So I put the camera in the front plane, I select the front plane on the left, open a sketch, and I can start. Now it's gonna help us actually here to move a little bit the design with making a long click on the wheel on the mouse to turn a little bit online so we can see them. But then we can sketch. And then I can make a first sketch like this and like this. You can see I'm not even trying to aim to be close to the line. We're gonna play with the function that's gonna help us right now. And that's it. Now, I want that point to be exactly on the line. It's a must. That's how the function works. So I tell him, click on the point, control on the keyboard, click on the line. Take your time. Point and line. And here you can see pierce. See, he put it exactly on its points. Click on the point, click on the line, pierce. Now I want this to be really smooth, so I can use the tangent function we learned in the first lesson. And now I continue. I want this point to be on that line. Coincident. I want this point to be on that line. Pierce. Pierce is we need pierce. We don't want coincidence in that specific case. Point on that line. Pierce. Now you can see I can still play with the curve. I want this point to be on that line. Pierce. This point on that line. Yes. And I finished. Now it's better to ask to see your sketch again flat from front. I do space on the keyboard, and here I'm gonna play with that new icon here on the side to be sure that it's gonna bring it to me once. And then I can start to play how much I want movement around the waist. So now we are ready to continue. I can do this from this angle if I want. If I want to really control my design from every direction, I can add as many lines as I want. But I think you got the point. And we're gonna use this in the banana lesson. Pictures. So I connect the different layers. Let's go them layers. And then I go to guide curves. And I tell him I want to use these lines. And he's asking me, do you want to use the line or the loop? I want the line, approve. And this line, the line, approve. Now I can already control the behavior of my design. We could make a cute octopus-like button. So that's it. In a nutshell, that's how you can start to play with LOFT. First, understand the logic of the layers. That's what we discussed during the lesson. The idea that if I can sketch, I can control the shape, and I can add lines on the sides to control also the behavior of the fabric. So now that we finish with this, I'm going to make a fast reminder of how I can create planes connected to lines. Like we discussed during the lesson, this icon is the direct example that if I sketch a line, I can put a plane normal to it at the end of it, 90 degrees glued to the line. That's what this function does. If I tell him I want to see this flat, he's giving it from that point of view. I can do the same if I want to see this flat and I don't remember which plane it was, from which direction I come. I can use that button. It's bringing it to me. Now, let's review with an example. One plane, sketch. I'm going to do it to the side or slightly above. And I'm going to give you two examples. What happens if I have a line that is not straight, not horizontal? And what happens if I have a curve? So I confirm my sketch. I must see gray. If I don't see it gray, the function will not appear. Features. So I need to tell him now where I want to put this plane. If I want to put it in this area, at the end of that line, press Control on the keyboard. At that end of the line, put me a plane. And you can see that at the end of the line, he put a plane. Now you see that it's exactly how this looks. Confirm. Now I have a plane. If I move the line, the plane moves with it. And this is actually how we use the sweep function, the spaghetti function. At the end of that line, Control on the keyboard. At that point, I want a plane. And now you can see it's placing it. And these planes are not front, side, top, or right or left. They are wherever I need them to. So now I'm just going to give you a reminder of how the sweep function works. On that plane, I sketch. And that's where it gets really 3D. I know it's a bit tricky. If on that plane, so use the mouse to turn your model around so you can see what you do. So now I have on this plane a shape. I want this shape to travel around this circle. I use the sweep function where I tell him, here is asking me, what is the shape, the profile, this one, along which path, this one. And we get the shape. And as we saw before, if I click on the options, I can twist it and play with this effect to get a little Celtic bangle in 3 clicks. Literally 3 clicks. One circle, one plane, one shape. Bam. You have it. Allez, 4 clicks with the last function. So that's it. That's why it's important to know how to control planes using sketches. So if you understand the idea of the slices, of the layers, of the commode, or like the floors in a building, and the point that if you can sketch a line, you can put a plane at the end of it so you can control the direction of your next function, we are on a good start to make the banana. I'm going to close this and bring the next slide. Font, new part. Okay, so I'm going to start from front, open a sketch. And here I'm going to use sketch comments to bring the picture. In my specific case, I don't remember exactly where I put the picture, so I'm just going to use the search engine of Windows to find the banana where it's supposed to be. Then actually this banana is big enough, this banana is bigger. Let's bring this back. Okay. This picture is on the model. So first, download that picture from the model. Now that we got the pictures, you can see that the picture size was 1000 pixels. So we have a 1 meter long banana. It's more like a furniture than a fruit. So maybe let's shrink that to 200 millimeter, ergo 20 centimeter. And here I can use the transparency function, full image, to put it around 60%. So I can see what I sketch. 60 is usually enough. 70 is also good. Good. Now that I will need that, I can start to sketch on this. The first thing I want to do is to get the overall shape of my banana, so I could place my planes. Because in order, like we saw, in order to build the loft, I need to be able to slice this volume into slices, into layers, so I could connect them with the function. So in order to know where the sketch or where the planes needs to be, I'm gonna use the line method. So I start here. Here we're gonna simplify a little bit. Let's think we are making a banana out of plastic. So we could print it, even extract sketches in order to make a fluffy, plushy toy. And you can see I'm using exactly what we learned in the first lesson. 3-point arc. Let's try to be precise without going, overboard. Because there we can play and do this little bump on purpose. Okay, good. So then I want just to connect this here and connect this here. Here I can choose if I want it to be tangent. So I will select 2 lines, tangent. And that's good. And I can move. Again, if you like the position of one line, remember you can always fix it with the anchor button. So when you change something else, you don't impact your old design. It happens a lot. Here, for example, we could shrink it a little bit. And here, maybe we want it a bit softer. We can use the fillet function. That is here. And if I click on it, so you see that it's already trying to help me. So yeah, I can. That's good. Now I need to do the same on the other side because the banana is not symmetric. That's why we need to use the loft function. Loft function. And then, okay, something like this. We're good. Again, if it's a toy banana, we don't need to be pixel perfect. But if you work on your own product, the first question you should always ask yourself is how precise this task requires to be. And then you know how much to invest in it. Because precision is time, precision is money. So I will put that here. Okay, good. So now that we have this, we need to decide where do we put our slices. Usually the slices, we put them where the shape has a drastic change. For example, here it's big, here it's shorter. So let's bring a center line. Okay, here it is. Yeah, we keep doing center line eventually. Here I have another change. Okay, you can play with escape on the keyboard if it doesn't go out. Here I can put one. See, now it did. Here I can put one in the middle. I would see what he does that. He wants to continue. Either you can click and delete what you don't need. If not, just to escape on the keyboard and your center line. I would prefer to have one here. It's up to you. And another one around here. Just for the exercise. Good. Now that we have this, we need to put lines 90 degrees in the middle because actually our plane is going to be along this. And whereas like we saw, in order to, if I want my plane to be placed on that line, I need another line come 90 degrees. So I could have it looking like this. I'll show you. Once you do it once, you will understand what we're aiming at. So here I want 90 degrees. You can see that with the yellow lines is helping me. Escape, right, click in the middle. I stay at 90 degrees. That's important that it will be 90 degrees. If not, my design will be wrong. Line, aim for the middle, follow the stuff. If you have a doubt, always select the 2 lines and ask perpendicular here on the side. And you can see that now I did it wrong. But if you can see the yellow lines, you're good. In the middle. Good. In the middle. Click here. Yeah, on the yellow line. It's important. in the middle. That doesn't matter. If it comes from the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. In that specific case, in middle and end. So we finished the preparation on our banana. One last thing I want to do is to click on that line, and I'm going to ask for construction. Click on the headline for construction. That's important, and we will know why. It's another way to remind you that we can switch the status of a line at any time, being a line that helped me sketch or a line that helped me build. Okay, that's it. We finish. Good. Now that we've done that, we are going to place planes at the end of each line. So I'm getting closer. Click on the line, control on the keyboard, click on the dot, features, film reference, plane. And here we can see this plane. Issue, approve, line, point, reference, plane. Now you can see placed it, enter, line, point, reference, plane, enter is working, line, point, control, long control on the keyboard, plane, line, control, point, reference, plane. We are good. And you can see that these planes are following the movement of the banana, but are not connected to nothing that we did until now. Line. Meanwhile, nothing what we learned until now, that only that the front, top, and right plane. That's what we used to have. And now you can see that we learned how to make planes wherever we need. So we are autonomous. Line, dot, reference, plane, approve, line, dot, reference, plane, approve, and one last one, line, dot, reference, plane, approve. So that's now where we need to decide how we want our banana toy to look. Is it perfect banana with circles, or do we want to make it geometric? That's up to you, but it's going to be the same logic. Right now, I would prefer to start with circles and ellipse, so I can show you what happens if I need to add a reference point. So let's go step by step. How does my banana look when it's here on that plane? New sketch. Usually, actually, banana on the tip of it, where the flower used to be, would be more like a rectangle. And then if you want to give it a shape, to give it a dimension, you can. It's overkill, but you can. 15 millimeter. It's just for the sake of it. And use the mouse with a long press on the wheel to turn your design. And that now we are in pure 3D building. You can see everything is moving. So if you feel a little lost at first, it's okay. It's completely normal. We finish with the first one. Now on the second plane, and if you can't select it here from here because of the picture, you can always select them from the side. Okay, left, sketch. All right, and I know because of the picture is doing this. So we can solve this. You know what? If you find it annoying that it's zooming out so much so far, we can always go to the click on the picture, right click, and here we should have suppress somewhere. Okay, if it's not here, because I'm inside the sketch, so I need to finish that. Click, right click, suppress. So first of all, be sure that you are not in any sketch. Click on the picture, right click, suppress. What it does is just remove us from sight, but the picture is still there. And also it's going to stop making this zoom in, zoom out that we had. So let's go back to the second plane. I open a sketch. And I put a circle. Now, for now, we can... Actually, I need to put it like this. Yeah, good. Now we need to do the pierce method. I want this point to be on that circle. Okay. So that's interesting. You see, it's not giving me the pierce function. So in that case, I'm going to create a new line. I'm just making a center line anywhere on the circle. Do the click. And now I have pierce. Okay. And because everything is symmetric, I just need to make one. It gives me the other one. My design is not symmetric. I'm going to have to do it right and left. Let's do it again on the next one. Plane 3. I want to put sketch 3. Open sketch. Yep. click on the center, click on the red dot, expand it. And here I can use center line to place a line somewhere on my sketch, on my circle. Click on the line, click on the point, click on the line, pierce. And now you can see that he already fixed it perfectly. Let's continue with the next one, plane 4, sketch. If suddenly you decide that your banana is hexagonal in the middle, let's try to see what happens. That could be fun. So here, the same. What I would do is like just make the hexagon, click on one edge, click on the line, pierce. And let's see what happens if plane 5, I create a new sketch. Now I want it to become a circle again. Start from the red dot. Yeah. Then here I'm missing a reference point as I create it with center line. I don't have to place it on the yellow dot, but if it tells you do it, then I tell him that this point is on that line. Pierce. I do the same for the next point. Plane 7. New sketch. Actually, at that moment, the banana will start to be more like a rectangular again. So, or we can go back to something simple. Let's make a rectangle. Here, fit. And then we can say that this line and this point, I don't like coincidence. I prefer to have a center line. So I'm going to put the center line exactly in the middle. Then this point on that line. This point on that line. Yes, this way is fixing it. Good. And on the last plane. So you can see that the way you design with LOFT is deciding at every slice, at every comma, every layers, every floor, how your shape look like. It requires intent. And this. But here you can see that this must be on that line. So here I think we can take a risk to put that point on that line and use coincidence. It should work, but I need to do it for the other one. Coincidence. Also, yes, we finish. Now let's save. If you wanted to save before, you should have done it. Always a good idea. So, let's put it 2026. June. Today we are V1. Good. Now let's have a first look using features, LOFT, and we're going to start to connect all the sketches. So I go in order from plane 1, sketch 2, and 3, and 4. 5. See now that we missed one. So let's do escape. We have to do it. Plane 6, sketch. But you can see it doesn't matter. I can do it at any time. I'll do a simple circle, connect it from the center. Yeah, now let's use the center line method. It's cleaner. I put that dot on that line, coincident. Okay, I want that dot on that line. Pierce. Pierce is good. Coincident, not always. So you see that in that case, on the side, we did sketch 10 in wrong order. So if I want to move my sketch 10 to place it back after sketch 7, you can see I can do it. So now, in his point of view, we always did it in that order. So you can move things. You can reorder function. And if you want to start to go that deep into 3D building, I'm gonna show you the precise method on how to do it. It's not a mess. Just good to know. So now I go back to the LOFT function and I connect the sketches one after the other. And now you can really see why we need the guidelines, because see what happened here? See these 3 green dots? Sometimes they are like twisting things around and they can make or break the function. Okay. So if you see if your dot is too far away, sometimes it's going to tell you I can't do it. So try to play with them to reorganize them. But if we work with a guideline, usually is making it good for us. And save. So here we have the first draft of a banana. And so it's actually putting this hexagon in the middle, give it kind of this twist where we can see the layers of the where you're supposed to paint. Good start, but it's not perfect. See here, it's not good. Here, it's a bit too fat. So right click on the loft, edit features, click on the guide curve area, and now let's apply the guide curves. You just need to click on the line. You can see the lines approved. Yeah, you already made it better. And I go to the bottom one, lines issue, and he fixed it. Okay, and I go with flash. But if you follow these steps, depending on what you did, yeah, you should get to that point. So this is our loft work. You can bring your design. It's the same method I used for the Bubadigum. You bring the pictures, you sketch your lines around it, your guidelines. You decide where, how many layers, how many uh, floors you need, and how your shape look on every floor. And then you can control the shape using the sketches and using the guidelines around. Okay, a little bit of extra content that I gave in Hebrew, so I want to give it here as well. If we make a toy, and actually we could make it as I know there is this really weird thing that you can actually buy a box in the shape of a banana to put the banana inside. So if you want to use that example, we could use the shell function. Here, you click on this shell function. We're asking what do you want to share? I will share this. Okay. For the shell function, you need first to click on the body you want to make hollow. So you have two ways to do that. If you have one function, you can click on the function. If you are not sure, you can use solid bodies. Open the menu, and here you can see the solid bodies. This is a cleaner way of doing it. Solid bodies, select the bodies, the piece of work that you want to work on. Shell. Always start with something small, like 3 millimeter. And here I tell him what I want to see open. So we could see what it does. And show preview. You can see what it does. Shell outward, it will try to make the banana shell outside, but here according to the shape, it doesn't always work. Okay, good. And actually, I guess I clicked on something, edit. It's not here. I need to do it here. It's in this window to have something open. Good. And apply. Yes. So here you can see that if I click on the surface, it's going to open it for me directly. And depending on the size of what I designed, it doesn't always give it to me. Now, if I want to confirm that it is hollow, I can cut it in half, or I can ask to see it in half. And here you can see that we did an hollow banana. So if you want to make banana-shaped buttons for your jacket, you can. So there you go. And this is ready to print. We just may have to add a place with holes in order to be able to stitch it. So that's one thing. Good. Now, I'm going to remove the shell. I can actually leave the shell. Stop. Oh. Leave the shell. I just don't want this side to be open. Good. And save. Normally, sometimes you're going to have save reminders and save. Next, you see these lines around? We could use them to create a sweep and to add some details to our product. This could be useful if you have dresses and this is the movement of the fabric that interests you. And if you want to think or know how much metal I need to buy to put inside. So let's start with this. If, for example, you want to know what is the length of that line, so first you click on the line, you go to evaluate. Here you're going to have measure. And it's telling you the arc length is 2 feet 3, the chord length is this. Okay, chord length is the straight line between the two ends. Arc length is the actual length of this. So it's 25 centimeters in a specific case. If you don't see the evaluate options here, you can always type on the top measure. And normally we should have it, the measure function. because measure is with MPA. Here you go. Here you see. You can, if you know measure, if you know the name of the function, you can do it. It's not all Solidworks will show you evaluate. That's one thing. If we want to know how the weight of this banana, we can tell him this body, the right click, material is made of plastic. It's show. Now, if I mass properties, here I'm gonna have to do a little bit of math because it doesn't always get the density. So he's telling me that this mass is 120 grams. According, if it's water. It's water, it's 120 grams. So the volume is this. So if you need to know how heavy the weight of your object, the weight of the structure, let me know and I will guide you how to do it. Because sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. So if I go to, and I tell you this is made out of, you can choose the material. Normally you should have these options. I go to rubber, rubber, maybe not, plastic, and here I have polyethylene, polyester, actually polyester resin. This is what we could use. Polyethylene. What's good with polyethylene, like that's the PP, polyethylene high density film. Okay, polyethylene low density. This is really close to the weight of the PLA. So here you can see that the mass is 900. What that means is like this plastic is 10% lighter than water. So knowing this, if I go to mass properties, and he's telling me that according to this, it's 100 grams if it's water, and if it's 10% less, I know that my toy is 90 grams. So that's going to be the maximum weight of what you can print. So if you print it, you're going to be charged maximum 90 grams. And then you can play with it on the settings, you make it lighter. If you make a structure for a garment, then you can know how much weight you're adding to the shoulder or to the hips of your model. Okay, so now that's one thing. Now, one last trick bonus I want to give you is like you can get this. You can see that this line is traveling in space freely. It goes in every direction. So I use that trick sometimes when I can't sketch something because it will be too complex or too much mathematics to build it. You can build a plastic model in order to get that line, in order then to throw the model. I'll give you an example. I'm going to take this line, sketch, really sketch, convert. Now I have a copy of that line in space. Sketch. I click on the line, sketch. Here I click on the little line. I have a new function called 3D sketch. Convert. Right now this is just extra knowledge. You don't have to apply it, but you play with it. Because next semester you're gonna need that content. And you can do it for each of your edges. It's like the wireframe of the banana. It's in the bun. And convert. One more. This one. 3D sketch. Convert. For sure. Now if I don't want to see this big plastic, black plastic, I go back to solid bodies, shell, right click, hide. Now I can see the wireframe of the banana in space. If you don't want to see the plane, you can hide them through here. Let's say hide. I don't want to see the planes. So it's easier to see what we come. So now, if we actually ask to see sketches with it, we have a full wireframe banana. Okay. So now I can use these lines in order to add plastic on it. Let's think that I want to actually create plastic ribs. So I could maybe print them or know how much material I need. Let's say I want to do wireframe. We talk about that. I can just click on the line, measure, and I can know how long the length of metal I need to buy, or metal strands. Okay, so let's go back to sweep. I click one, I go to sweep. I use the circular profile function like we did before, and I give it the size. Yeah, that's it. I need to do that. Photoshop that pillar. 4. And you're good. Sure. And then see that now when you look at these lines, you can see they go in every direction. If that's the easiest way to actually sketch this or build this, is to do it that way. So this way I'm not trying to build it. I'm building a shape that's gonna give it and that's why I for the last 2 weeks I asked you, give me a picture, bring me a sketch of what you want to build, and then I can build a method for you, the recipe to build it, because this is counterintuitive. It's actually the easiest way to sketch anything. And then we could continue with all of them, and we will get the perfect way of finding out the balance. I think you got the idea by now. That's it. That was for the LOFT function, with additional content of how to extract lines from a 3D model to continue building. And that's exactly the method we use with Jasmine to build the dome that you want to place on the shoulder of a model that I showed you during the lesson as an example. I just want to finish this and one last piece of bonus content. Yeah, and yeah, we can start to fill them with banana. So I should have 6 lines. It means that I forgot what the other one in the middle. But actually this line exists on the original sketch. That's why it's really been fine. Oh, and that's it. But now we can play with a few stuff. Good. I just want to confirm something. Options. Don't merge. Merge means to glue. I don't want to glue this shape, so we can play with it. I don't want to merge, so we quit. See, now it behaves as if it's a separate piece. At the beginning, you're gonna make these mistakes, and it's okay. It's normal. Everyone does that. You're gonna forget about the merge function. So that's why, like on the next recordings I'm gonna do for the buttons with the recipe to build, I'm gonna play with this sometimes, so you can see when it's relevant, when it's not. Yeah. So here I should say I have shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we can start to play with that. Up. Save. I want to show you a really neat trick that we use sometimes when we make textures or when we make the shoes. Here on the top, I can look for combine. And if I do that, I can tell him I can glue them back together. This is add. So if I select all my pieces, I can glue them back together. Then I can use subtract, telling him that this is the main body, and I want to carve this into the side of the banana. And that's what you do. What did I do? I did it wrong. No, this is not. Yeah, equal can choose. This is the main body, and this is to cut. And here you can see what he did. He actually carved a groove inside the banana. So that actually, if you want to make accessories, if you want to make pieces of plastic to guide fabric, this is the way to do it. So sometimes if you can't use sweep cut, we can use that method. It's already advanced building, but that was a good opportunity to show what we do. And there is many other applications. So make the exercises, follow the model, and every time you build something, make a screenshot, put it in your presentation for the Agacha day. So good luck.